D.L. Hughley breaks the news. CNN, Saturday night at 10, Sunday night at 11.
Republican Congressman Ron Paul. Ron, you ran for president. When you dropped out, you did not back John McCain. Obviously, you have some issues with some members of your party, right?
Right, yeah. When they don't live up to their promises, you know, if they call themselves fiscal conservatives and then they double the size of the budget and the deficit, then I can't with a clear conscience support them.
So you were against George Bush's big spending, too?
Oh, absolutely, and certainly I was against his foreign policy and his violation of personal civil liberties, the privacy that he was invading and the secrecy of government. I didn't like any of that. I'm sort of an old-fashioned conservative that believes in the Constitution.
Now, you also voted against President Obama's stimulus package. Obviously, you had reservations about that. Why was that?
Well, I don't think it's going to do any good. Most of that money so far hasn't helped the little guy. It's going to Wall Street. If they'd have taken all that money and just sent checks out, it would have been better off. I would like to get the money in the hands of the people. I don't trust the government, and I don't trust the politicians and the bureaucrats because they bail out their buddies. What we want is to get more money in the hands of the people. That's why I would just suspend the income tax, and everybody would get a pay raise immediately. And there still are a few people that are employed, so this would be a big boost to the economy. Then the people make the decisions rather than bailing out corporate giants and banks, and then they take their money and they get billions of dollars worth of bonuses. It's absolutely out of control.
But Ron, okay, I too was against the bailout. But some aspects of the stimulus package, I see some, like as far as extending unemployment benefits to people, making those a little longer, and things like that. Other attributes of the stimulus package, I agree with some of those. But the bailout, I have to say, I was totally against it. I didn't think that we should have bailed out the GM. I thought some of the banks, I could see how that was necessary. But honestly, what do we do then?
Well, you have to understand how we got into this mess, and we got into this mess because
we spent like there was no tomorrow. We all spent like there was no tomorrow.
Yeah, we elected the Republicans to back off from big government, and they doubled the size of everything and ran up the deficit. So we spent too much, we borrowed too much, and then we started putting pressure on the Fed, and the Fed acts on their own, and they started inflating, that is creating credit out of thin air. They're the ones who really causes the boom, and they literally bring about the bust. After the Depression ended, after the World War II, the spending went down 2/3 and taxes went down 1/3, and that's when the Depression finally ended in the late 40s.
Wow, the amazing thing is that you don't seem like a Republican to me, like that I've ever heard. You seem so reasonable. No, honestly, you really do. You seem to make sense, which I don't attribute to very many politicians.
Okay, go ahead.
But the government does have to do something. I think we're very panicked. I think the electorate is clearly nervous. The government has to do something to kind of lay their fears, or we'll never get on track, right?
Yeah, and that is true, and we could if we had some sensible people here. And even though I am a strict constitutionalist, I don't believe in most of these programs, I still have an interim set of priorities. I would cut $500 billion from overseas. I don't think it makes any sense to blow up bridges in Iraq and then pay to rebuild them to no-bid contracts where the corporations never rebuild. I say spend all that money back here at home. We could save enough money by just changing our foreign policy, cutting down on our deficit, and still take care of people that we have taught to be so dependent. We spend over $1 trillion a year maintaining the American empire, but nobody wants to give up on the empire.
Wow.
Not even this new administration. They're pursuing the Bush policies in the Middle East, and they're not cutting back. And yesterday I gave a speech on the House floor, and I literally bet the troops will not be out of Iraq in 2011.
Right.
Because we're going to have a big amnesty, and we're going to have 56 military bases, and believe me, that is very offensive to the people of Iraq.
Ron, you're too human to be a Republican. Now, I was on Bill Maher about a year and a half ago or so, and you came on, and you came on by satellite, and you were explaining about the Civil War, how it didn't need to be fought. And I was at first like, he's saying that it didn't need to be fought. But when you explained it to me, I thought it was one of the most pragmatic, reasonable things I've ever heard a politician say.
Well, the other nations in the West that had slavery all got rid of slavery without a civil war. And the motivation behind the Civil War had more to do than just the slavery issue. So we lost 600,000 Americans, and a lot of residual, probably some left over today. There's still residual. So you could have, with a small fraction of the money and no deaths, just bought the slaves, you know, and freed the slaves. That's what Britain did in some other nations, and that just makes a lot more sense than fighting a war and killing each other.
I
don't like this war as a solution to our problems.
You make way too much sense. You can't be a Republican. I'll say it again. Are you going to run again in 2012?
Well, I might be running from somebody or running for Congress or who knows what.
Thank you, Congressman Ron Paul. It was a pleasure, man.